Welcome to Midnight Menu Plus One. I'm Ray Canada.
And I'm Margot Moss.
We're at Ted's Frost Top on Claiborne and Calhoun in Uptown New Orleans. Once a week, Margot and I meet here at Ted's, and we invite a member of New Orleans restaurant community to join us. And we invite them to bring along a friend, a plus one. We never know who their plus one is going to be. Sometimes it's a friend, a neighbor, a family member, or a fellow restaurant business colleague. Well, in a few moments, we're going to be speaking with our special guest, Krista May. And I am very excited. I can't wait. She is an amazing woman. This is a woman who was the first female to ever try out for the boys' football team in high school.
Whoa, that's ballsy.
Yes. She broke her nose 4 times. Can't wait to ask her about that. And still manages to be stunningly beautiful. But people probably know her best as the co-owner, along with her husband, of Chef Brack, of Cowbell, everyone's favorite restaurant. And we'll be doing that in just a few moments. But while we wait for that, Marg, I'm wondering, what is Meatball prepared for us tonight?
Well, on the menu tonight, he's got a buffalo chicken sandwich with blue cheese dressing, house-cut fries, and banana cream pie for dessert, and a few other things, but that's my favorite thing on the menu tonight. Oh, yeah?
Oh, yeah.
Well, speaking of eating, where have you eaten anywhere exciting this week?
Oh, I'm sure I did. Well, it's hard to get my family to agree to eat at the same place, right? Which is to my chagrin. When we got 3 of us, we can do it. 4, it's usually hard. But we all like Magazine, that Vietnamese place, the pho place on a magazine opened a few months ago, right past Napoleon, and I had the filet mignon pho, and it was awesome. Absolutely awesome. I had the rare steak before. How about you?
I had Vietnamese this week too.
All right.
But I went to the West Bank to Ton Din. Have you eaten at Ton Din?
No, I have not. Outside Orleans Parish.
That's New Orleans.
No, I don't think so.
It's Orleans Parish.
I don't think so.
On Lafayette?
No.
Really? Well,
I could be wrong.
It was easy to get there. It's very quick to get there.
Yeah, it was good.
It was delicious. I have I got the salt and pepper baked shrimp.
All right.
With a lime pepper sauce. And it's delicious. And it's actually the only restaurant where I've had to perform the Heimlich.
This week?
Not this week.
Oh, wow.
But in the past.
And you've gone back? It hasn't deterred you?
No, because it wasn't from a food item on the menu. It was actually, my child was sitting at another table.
And wait, like a Lego or something?
Well, I thought I was so proud he was entertaining himself, but I did not realize that he had gotten a piece of hard candy from somewhere that I did not give him. Is there a problem with? So the hard candy. He wasn't talking, and I was.
How old was he at this point?
He was 4.
He was 4.
I look over, and he's turning blue.
Right.
And I'm screaming and run across the restaurant.
Now let me ask you: when they say blue, is it really blue?
Well,
like
I
Smurf
didn't hear
blue?
anything.
Like what kind of blue?
Well, it was definitely blue. It was like he was screaming, but nothing was coming
out.
You
knew right away.
And yeah, I knocked some people over. Someone was trying to give him the Heimlich, and I pushed her out of the way, gave him the Heimlich, and it shot out. And
someone was already giving the kid the Heimlich.
Yes.
Wow.
And we ended up staying. He was fine. I was a little bit in shock. And
did you eat?
The food is so
that?
Good. Yes. Yeah. Yes. We stayed.
Did you find the candy? Like how far did it go?
It went like 2 feet.
Oh, okay. Didn't break a window or anything, right?
No. But it was very exciting, and
we can laugh about it because he's fine.
Yes, absolutely.
Wow, that's cool. Did I remember that when you go back? Like, did they call you the Heimlich lady or anything? No.
No. I tried to. I didn't want to upset anybody and make a big deal out of it. He also had an accident in the bathroom. This is probably not appropriate, but
is he going to listen to this? Or his friend's going to listen to this?
So he had an accident, and they don't have paper towels. So we had to buy a $25 Got Pho shirt.
What is that?
And it's a big, the soup. Like Got Milk, but Got Pho or whatever.
Ah.
So he wore a big orange adult shirt because they didn't have hand towels. They only have air dryers. That was 4.5.
Yeah, see, I had something like that at 4.5. I wore the corduroys of shame one time in kindergarten for a little accident I had. I remember laughing at the other kids when they came out and tried to be cool with it. And then the next day I was wearing them. Yeah, that happens at 4.5.
Yeah. I guess this isn't really food talk, but
this is kind of grossing me out now. Now I don't have to have the cream pie anymore. Banana cream pie, I can resist it now. Well, our guest is here though now, so I cannot wait. Let's introduce her. Krista May, I have so many questions for you. I'm so excited you're here now.
Thank you.
Yes. All right, so you have a lot of explaining to do.
Okay.
I asked you some questions in advance, and you gave us some great answers, and they sound great. I just don't know what they mean. You're too deep for us. Margot and I are a little shallow for these things. You got to explain to us. The first one I saw that really intrigued me was, what does it mean that your co-pilot is a love child of Atticus Fitch? I know who that is. Kill a Mockingbird. Nucky Thompson. I know that one from Boardwalk Empire, right? Caitlin Stark and Shirley Muldowney. What does that mean? You're a puzzle. No, I'm embarrassed to say I don't know who that is.
All right. Well, Atticus Finch is, the guy that does the right thing all the time, no matter what.
Right.
Let's see. Nucky Thompson is not
it's
the guy
just
that
like
does
him. No.
is not the guy that does the right thing, but he is a guy who does what is necessary and still manages to try to maintain a perspective on taking care of people that can't take care of themselves. He still tries to. There's like a moral something in there. There's a kindness or whatever. There's something in there.
In a place you wouldn't expect it. Buried under a kind of a bad guy who's really a good guy too.
Exactly.
Yeah, right.
So he's the kind of that kind of conundrum. And then who's my other one?
You said you
Caitlin
wrote it.
Stark.
Yeah,
Okay, Caitlin Stark.
Are these personalities? Are there sides of you, or is this?
These are, I would say probably yes. Caitlin Stark is she's one of the main characters in George R.R. Martin's Game of Thrones, and she is very much about family and doing her, like, they have sigils and they have like house words, and her words are family, duty, honor, and so that is very dear to me. You put family first. You do things that are honorable. The last thing that you have at the end of the day on your deathbed is pretty much your word. So if you've are you allowed to swear? You're not allowed to swear.
Sure.
If you shit all over your word, you pretty much have nothing by the time you die, because there's no honor there. So there's that. And then Shirley Muldowney, she was the woman, one of the first women to break into stock car racing. And she had an entire group of people, a whole industry, saying she was not allowed to do that. And
when was that?
God, I don't know. I want to say in the 60s.
Wow.
Yeah, in the 50s and the 60s. She grew up in the 50s.
So she's like Danica Patrick or whatever,
right,
but in another,
like much earlier.
Before
and she
Danica
survived
Patrick was born,
a fire.
yeah.
She crashed
Wow.
and caught on fire, basically. And she had all these bad burns, and so she didn't let that stop her. She overcame that and still raced and still did all of that and won. And
so did you know about her when you tried out for the football team?
No,
is that true?
I didn't. No, that is true. I did.
Did you make the team?
And
I
where
didn't.
was that?
I made it to the.
Where are
I
you
made
from?
it to the I'm from a place called Downers Grove, Chicago.
Oh yeah.
So Illinois.
Yeah.
So it's about I want to say maybe a half an hour outside.
I know where that is. Yeah.
And we grew the way we grew up during that time. There wasn't really. We grew up on a cul-de-sac, and so every house had kids, and every kid played every sport there was. And because it was a cul-de-sac, we had spray painted, bases for baseball, and there were whole areas that were devoted entirely to football. And I had always played football. My father had bought me a mitt when I was very young, and he used to fire the ball at me just to see if I would catch it, and he would throw it right at my head. And it's like whip these balls at me and just do it over and over and over again. And it was kind of his way of sort of letting me know that there are things to be afraid of and you can get hurt, but you'll get over it. You know, it's not, it's you got to face up to things that you're afraid of, and you have to, not be afraid of everything and not let people tell you that you can't do this or you can't do that.
Wow, well, that's a great segue to Cowbell then, huh? Right? Because
absolutely.
That's great preparation. You didn't know it. You just had your crazy dad throwing footballs at your head.
I did.
Did you know that was going to, bring you to
all of that.
Open this restaurant.
All of the way, and then again, back to Shirley Muldowney, her father raced. He didn't race cars, but he would take her out on the off-roading and let her drive real fast when she was just very little, and she would sit in his lap and steer, and he would drive faster and faster and faster. And it was kind of, there's a symmetry there that, my father was always very, she doesn't want to be a beauty queen. She wants to play football. And my mother was, but, I was Miss Minnesota, and I don't understand. And so, it was really kind of,
your mom was really Miss Minnesota?
Yes.
Literally Miss Minnesota?
My mother was a beauty queen, yes.
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
So you didn't do any of that?
No. It didn't appeal to me. I didn't like it. And it's really my father's fault because he was always very quick. My father and my great-grandmother Fanny were always and my grandmother Charlotte were always very clear about beauty fades. Beauty is not a constant. Beauty is a thing that you can use that will work for you. But once you get in someplace, what are you going to do then? Like, where's your brain? And use your brain. And so they were always very, they'd always send books, and it was always, what did you learn in school? And they were very cerebral type people, and they promoted that along with a real kind of anarchist view of don't listen to authority. So that was very much the opposite of what my mother wanted. My mother wanted me to just be a beauty queen and marry a lawyer. And
did you ever secretly want to do the beauty thing, or no? You never.
No, I
actually
had
no interest.
I was a homecoming queen once, and I didn't like it, and I gave the tiara back, which I'm really kind of pissed about because I liked the tiara. The tiara.
That would be so great.
It was funny. I enjoyed the tiara.
Every woman in New Orleans has a tiara.
I know.
For like
some
all
of the men have tiaras.
I have a tiara actually. Yeah,
I'm envious of some of their tiaras.
But you would have you would come by it honestly. You were actually crowned with your tiara. The rest of us bought ours in a costume store on Magazine Street. You actually...
And you didn't know you would be here. When did you move to New Orleans? How old were you?
We were 13 years ago. So I was, I turned 40 while we were evacuated for Katrina. Everything before that is kind of like, a whole nother life. I don't really even... we moved here right after 9/11. Most things that happen to us are closely related to major catastrophes. So, everywhere we've gone, there's always been a bad hurricane, or there's...
No, wait, where were you living?
Before you got here?
Where were you living during 9/11?
We were in Wisconsin, actually. And what was funny is Brack had come down here to open Cowbell in the Hotel Monaco with Susan. And
Susan Spicer?
Yes.
Yeah.
And they had scheduled their, how they send out those things where it's going to be the soft opening and everybody's supposed to come, and they pre-scheduled those things. Well, it was scheduled for like the day of 9/11 or the day after.
Not a good day for celebration.
Not particularly a good day, but they forced him to go through it anyway. So he was here by himself, and I was still in Wisconsin. And I couldn't get from Wisconsin to here because they shut everything. They shut like the whole country down. They were like, you can't go anywhere, you can't do anything. They evacuated every place, and it was very, very strange. But we moved here that September.
Well, I want to hear about the next catastrophe about Katrina, but first, it looks like your +1 has arrived. Mm-hmm. Would you introduce her for us?
This is my little Kim Vu.
Kim Vu.
You may know her from Kim Vu Rescue Banh Mi sandwich, Vietnamese sandwich special that we have at Cowbell.
Nice.
Yes.
Wow, you have arrived when you have a sandwich named after you. Yes. Not just anywhere, too, at Cowbell.
Listen,
you can die now and know you've had a meaningful
That
life.
was a Facebook status update for the whole world that I have my own sandwich. That
would be my whole identity if it was me.
This is the Kim Boo.
Well, some of us can dream of it, and some of us get it.
Now, are you just a really fabulous friend that you get that on?
Yeah, what did
or
that?
I think it was a pity thing.
It was.
It was a pity thing.
What was happening?
She was friends with someone who worked for me at Cowbell and was referred to as one of her quote-unquote real friends. I don't know what the alternative is to that, but it was one of her real friends.
Fake friends.
And we met Kim through Amanda, and Amanda's now since moved to Montana and is sending us pictures of streams, which is lovely. But so our connection continued, but Amanda has gone on to bigger and better things.
How long ago was that?
A year.
Yeah, about a year.
And then we
Wait a
went
second.
into
So you
the
got a
other-
sandwich named after in
I
less than a year?
know. I know.
Whoa.
I kind of feel cool.
That is really cool.
To be totally
What are you
honest
going to do in
with
10 years? Like,
Well,
you know,
that's because it's
they're going to name
also-
they're going to name a neighborhood
Show.
after you or something.
You have to understand though, when she comes,
Oak Street is going to be Kim Boo Street.
She sits at the bar and she inhales.
I
the
like
fu-
red meat.
She inhales
I
the
like
food.
You like red
and
meat?
It's
And I
like
almost
rare.
it's almost a really kind of obscene experience to watch. So we felt obliged to name a sandwich.
It's my
after-
way to show them love. Actually, it's really funny too. Speaking of disasters, I had 3 disasters in the span of a month.
This month?
August.
Oh.
Well, everyone had the 3rd disaster, but it was a little annoying.
Oh.
I was buying a house in Central City, and like many houses in Central City, the house next door was blighted, collapsed during rains, and then when they demoed it, the city demoed a little bit of my bedroom too.
Oh. While you were in it?
No, I hadn't
Oh.
moved in. And then while I was getting fixed and I was visiting family in California, my apartment caught on fire.
What?
Yeah, and then I got back, and then God bless, Isaac. So it was, I kind of felt like I had a 3-in-1 disaster experience. But I did get a sandwich named after me.
But you got a
Wow.
sandwich named after
because
you.
Amanda
So-
was talking about it. With
That's the
driving
sympathy
Krista.
thing. I thought she was kidding. Oh, yeah, you earned it there. Okay.
It was a Kim Boo rescue.
rescue.
Well, let me ask you about that if I could. I don't know if Margot wants to jump in here, but how do you think Katrina? Katrina obviously is like the sort of the archetypal sort of disaster for this generation or whatever here, but New Orleans is full of mini disasters all the time, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you can't live here without the
really
things that you're saying. I mean, you're laughing about it because like
potholes.
everybody in this
That is a disaster.
Everybody in this room has had something like
blighted house
yeah.
that collapsed.
Oh, yeah.
Sure,
It happens,
sure.
right? But we love it here, right? And, I know, Krista, you said before that you feel like, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but you said Katrina is sort of like a necessary disaster that happened in your
Yeah.
life to bring
Yeah.
sort of rebirth in your life or new life into your experience. Can you explain that to us, or what do you think about, and either one of you, how you
Well-
reflect on disaster here?
I think, as it relates, I think you can look at Katrina in 107 different ways. Everybody's going to have their own perspective, but for me, the thing that really stuck out for me was ultimately, I kind of mark my life as before Katrina and after Katrina because it seems dramatically different to me now. The things that I consider important now versus what I considered important then. And, we really weren't worried about the hurricane. I mean, everybody felt that way. It's just going to be a long weekend somewhere.
Right.
Let's go to the beach. I mean, nobody honestly understood that something that truly devastating was going to happen.
Right.
Because there's so many, what do they call that dude that cries wolf all the time? It's just, it just happens so many times and nothing really bad
Little
really
boy cry wolf.
happens. So yeah, so you don't really take it seriously. But when we had to get fake press passes from a friend of ours in California to get us into the city, it was maybe a week later, and I
Oh, wow.
started walking through my house.
And you're in Central City, right?
Yeah. The first thing that you saw were all the markings on the houses, and then then the smell was unavoidable. And I still can't stomach the smell of pine sol. It just puts me right back to what that was like. The smell, the thickness of the air, the fact that it felt like you could just grab stuff out of the air, the MREs all over the ground. It was pretty disgusting. And as I started walking through the house, I realized that I was really looking at shit I just didn't give a crap about. Like, I'm looking at it going, did we need 4 TVs? I mean, it's just fucking obscene. You don't need any of this shit. You didn't take any of it with you.
Yeah.
How important can it possibly be? And as I saw things destroyed, I realized that I didn't, all the effort that I put into acquiring all of it didn't really matter when I'm looking at it destroyed and I'm not feeling anything about it. And that, for me, was kind of a catalyst to reprioritizing what was really relevant and what really mattered, and realizing that
what was a priority. What was
nothing really terribly superficial anymore. Just that.
But I mean, did you change your career? Was that when y'all, or did you ever consider leaving after that, or were you committed?
Yeah, no, we did. He at that point was trying to put together a restaurant in Miami. We went and we stayed with his sister in Fort Lauderdale. So we really didn't have any concerns as far as like how we were going to continue paying our bills or anything like that. That thankfully was pretty much taken off the plate as a concern. What kind of happened was we came back and realized that there's a really particular devastation when people that you know and that you care about and that are members of your family don't quite understand why it is not acceptable to act as though it was something that we deserved. Like there was somehow we brought this on ourselves, or we had chosen to live here and thus this is what happened, or wow. It was a little, uncomfortable, and it sort of...
Did it reinforce your belief in being here, though? I mean, even
it
though
did
maybe
in
it
the
was
sense that
negative
I didn't really care for people deciding for other people where it was. To me, basing whether somebody should live here or not is the same as basing somebody should they live in Iowa when they had flooding. I mean, it's just fucking ridiculous. And so this idea that this is an uninhabitable place because it's quote dangerous, or this thing happened or whatever, it's because we're all just poorly behaved human beings or whatever. It just seemed like a simpleton's kind of solution so that they could dismiss it as something that anybody needs to be concerned about. And that pissed me off a lot, because you've got people who don't know anything different but living here. And so to like suggest that it would be acceptable for them to never return to a place that they feel a connection to is just wrong and unforgivable. So for me, it sort of made the commitment a little bit stronger, in the sense that I wasn't going to be fine with people telling me that me or anybody else living here, we were somehow undervalued or somehow less than or somehow excusable, that you're just not, it's just not important. You bring it on yourself kind of bullshit that I just don't.
Right.
And on the other hand, I think it really revealed a lot of things about ideas that we had about us as a city and a country and a political system that just didn't work. And that is a necessary evil. It's a necessary thing that wakes you up, and you either take it in and make some changes, or you don't. So.
Well, being from here, growing up here, I really appreciate people choosing to stay and make it their home and to continue moving here. And I really think that's what makes this city a better place. So thank you. And Kim, are you from New Orleans, or you moved here?
No, I moved here 2 years ago from Alaska.
Alaska. You look Alaskan.
Right? Right?
Big Vietnamese community in are you Vietnamese? What are you?
I am.
Yeah,
I
a big
am.
Vietnamese community in Alaska?
There's three.
Three of
other
you?
Vietnamese people.
Now there's two?
They're your parents, is what you're saying.
Your parents, your
You.
siblings got the hell out of there too?
You know, I went there on a
There's
stint.
one
I
Vietnamese
thought-
restaurant, and it's your parents.
I went to what was great is the Vietnamese restaurant opened shortly before I left, and I went in.
Where in Alaska is this we're talking about? I know it's a big place.
For 1 year, I was in a really small town called Palmer. For
How come
five,
you don't sound like Sarah Palin?
5 years, I was in a really small town called Anchorage.
Anchorage, I've heard of, yes.
So I went to this Vietnamese
Are there
restaurant.
moose that walk down the street?
Yeah.
It's just like Northern Exposure,
it's
isn't
just
it?
like Northern
It's actually like they're pests. They eat plants.
Yeah.
Oh, they're total pests,
Is
and
moose
they're dangerous.
plural for moose?
Yeah,
She can't say
they
moose.
kick.
Meese.
They kick.
Meese, moose.
They
Is it
really
moose-eye?
kick, and it's kind of scary. And they charge you, and they fake it. It's not pleasant.
Have you ever seen that footage
not
on YouTube
pleasant.
of the moose going through the library at the University of Alaska or whatever
yeah,
it is,
yeah.
and trashing the library, and all the students are jumping to the side and just going
Yeah,
like
they're
nuts?
scary.
Yeah.
I mean, my dog.
Somebody let one in through the front door, and it just went insane in the library. Yeah.
My dog is well behaved because he got bluff charged by a moose.
No, he didn't.
He did.
Are you kidding?
You got what charged?
Bluff charge. Like
Bluff?
What does that mean?
Like they fake
Is that
charge.
Alaskan for something?
They fake
Yeah,
charge
that's Eskimo for
people
something.
and dogs. Hey, you leave Milo alone, okay? I'm out of this.
All right. Well,
Milo's
Margot, we
very
were getting
sensitive.
very deep, and now we're getting kind of jovial again. Maybe we should go back to being a little deep and do our book of questions.
Yes, I would like to ask
This might be a
y'all.
good break right here.
Please pick a number, Krista, between 1 and 217, and then Kim, we're going to have you do it. What's your favorite number?
113.
All
And you
right.
have to answer this. You can't plead the fifth.
Yes. Okay. If you could take a 1-month trip anywhere in the world and money were not a consideration, where would you go and what would you do?
Oh, man. For a month? You like that question? Do you have an answer to
You
that
don't
question?
get this question.
You don't get this
so,
question. Can I? Is that my final answer? I would probably.
have you traveled to so many
say
places
Alaska.
that you don't have
I
a-
wouldn't go to Alaska because I think it's cold there, and they have funky
And we-
light.
Right.
and the
She's
funky
right.
light
Or no light.
charge.
No
so
light.
no.
I think I would probably pack a very small bag and travel outside of the United States by train or boat and just go wherever, just one place to another. I don't like to plan vacations. I just like for stuff to happen.
I could see
don't
that.
I'm not really into the plan because the plan ruins the fun. The plan it
All right.
eliminates.
Well, how about if you had to bring a date with you besides Brock, and it was
Oh,
a
no.
former president? Who would it be?
A former president?
Yes.
Are you just making up questions? That's not in there.
Wait a minute.
A former president?
These
I
rules.
would pick
I believe in rules.
a former president. I would pick Truman.
Okay.
Truman. I know why.
I would pick Truman.
I know why. You trust Truman. He's not gonna hit
I
on you.
don't necessarily.
That's what it is.
I don't necessarily
He was a
trust
trustworthy
Truman,
man.
but I liked
Good
the fact that he didn't
Midwestern
want
stock.
to be president.
He didn't want to
He
be president.
didn't want to be
Yeah, yeah.
president.
Oh.
So
You like that? You appreciate that?
I like the fact that he didn't want to be president. I want to talk to him.
And he's a
about what-
haberdasher, so he
Not
can
me.
make alterations
Not
if
me.
you.
And
yeah.
All right, Kim. What's your number?
And presumably he never slept with Monica Lewinsky, that woman, Monica Lewinsky.
Nobody had to sleep with. What was her name? I forgot her name now. Margaret.
Margaret.
Truman.
Well,
that's character
You
building.
didn't have to.
I think that was character building.
I'm gonna go
Okay.
for 100. 110.
110?
You know, we do this long enough. We're gonna have these all memorized. I'm scared yet.
Okay. If you were having difficulty on an important test, you could safely cheat by looking at someone else's paper, would you do
First
so?
of all, safely cheating is a myth, number one. And I wouldn't do
Because
it.
you will always know.
You
that
wouldn't
you
do it?
cheated.
Because in your heart, it would hurt.
it would hurt your heart.
No, I wouldn't do it.
Okay.
I don't know. Maybe because
So you never cheated in college?
no.
Really?
I didn't.
Ever?
I didn't.
She was a lawyer, so I think she's lying.
Oh, they all lie. Yeah.
I think she's totally.
Is she
lying.
your
No, but you're an
lawyer?
ex-lawyer,
Is that,
though. You're an
she is
ex-lawyer?
not-
I'm
you
a
brought her in
recovering
case we
lawyer.
You're a
asked.
recovering lawyer?
Technically, I'm still
Yes,
licensed.
she's going to slap down some litigation.
You know, a little known fact, I went to law school for 6 weeks. Actually, 6 weeks in like 2 days. Because you can get a refund in 6 weeks. And I waited like 2 extra days, so we got no refund. So I was paying off that loan forever. Yeah.
That's awesome.
I gave it all. I told my parents in one sentence. This isn't about me, but I got to give you this quote eventually. I told my parents, I said, I'm dropping out of law school. I'm going to seminary, and I'm getting married. All in one
Wow.
sentence. I told my mom. Worst moment of her life.
No doubt.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
you gave back your tiara.
If only I had ever earned a real tiara, that'd be awesome. Wow, that's really okay. I like this. The book questions worked out well this time. I like that. That was good.
I have a question about family. Getting back to, I want to know how you and Brock met. Am I
Yes.
saying his
Oh, my
name right?
goodness.
Brock, right?
Brack.
Brack.
You,
call him
How
Brock
does he
before?
prefer?
Brack.
he doesn't really. He answers to pretty much everything. He's a very easygoing guy.
Hey, guy.
Brack.
Hey,
yeah.
hey, dude.
Hey, buddy. Hey, buddy.
What?
All right. Well, it's kind of a whirlwind story. I was bartending in a place called Cresta Butte, Colorado. It's about 12,000 elevation in Colorado.
Wow.
And he was one of the guys in the kitchen. And he used to wear his... You remember the Jack Nicholson Easy Rider sunglasses?
Yeah.
The old ones.
He'd
Yeah.
wear them in the
He
kitchen?
would wear them in the kitchen because he was stoned all the time. So he
Wow.
would wear them in the kitchen with
he get cut a
Birkenstocks
lot?
and socks. Huh?
Did he get cut a lot?
No, he's quite skilled.
Okay.
And
He developed night vision.
he developed night vision. He was a curious individual, and he was filthy. And he
that
looked as
attracted
though
you? Wow, I
he
really-
never bathed. And he had
But
very
their kitchen
long
is,
hair.
like, immaculate.
Oh, I see why.
will
You
put
fell in
that out
love.
there.
Wow.
And
Their
he was.
kitchen is
I
clean.
was bartending,
Okay.
and it's one of those stories where it's a very small town, and my father owned a significant portion of that town, and I was working and
He was like Mr.
known-
Potter.
I was known as like this is his daughter kind of situation, and he was not intimidated by that at all, and walked up one day with a big tumbler and tapped it on the bar and said, "Coke me, babe." And I looked at him like, "Who are you, you filthy beast?" And he was like, "Yeah, come on, babe, Coke me." And I thought, I don't even know. But I don't know what it was. I just sort of looked at him like, that is just
I'm going to marry this man.
quite an interesting creature. And we went out. He asked, it was his birthday the following day, and he asked if I would go with him to some one of the bars that was there. And he knew everybody in town. He'd been in town a month. I'd lived there for a year. I didn't know anybody.
Did your father approve of him?
No, not at all. He tried to.
He tried to kill him, didn't he,
He
on a
did. He
snowmobile?
did try to
I
kill
remember-
him. He
I
did.
heard the story.
He did. Well, all right. So we
Well, we're getting ahead of
we go
ourselves.
out, and I enjoy his company. He enjoys my company. Yada yada. He kisses me very lightly and goes home, and I go home, and I'm thinking this guy's not trying to jump my bones. There's something kind of wrong with him. And I'm basically intrigued.
You didn't
'cause
think he was a
everybody had
gentleman,
tried
it was
to-
something was wrong.
Yeah, I thought
Okay.
maybe he was gay. So I was thinking, well, this is going to be my new gay friend. And it's true, but I've never met a gay person that doesn't bathe. But anyway, so all evidence to the contrary. We ended up kind of going out, and he ended up moving into my apartment
Wait,
after
how-
2 weeks
I'm sorry.
of knowing him.
So how long before you decided he wasn't gay?
Well, yeah, it was about a week. We
Okay.
figured out he wasn't gay
Is that a
because
euphemism?
he was also dating. See, here's the thing: he was also dating another
On
girl
the
that
air,
I named
Krista, on
Holly
the air.
Popeye Legs because
Holly
her-
Popeye Legs.
Holly Popeye Legs because Holly Popeye Legs had remember how Popeye's
arms?
were those were her legs. I'm sure she was a very nice girl, but
Was she athletic?
No, she was a slut. Anyway,
Okay.
so
Hey, that's a sport of
Whoa.
sorts.
She may still be
very
alive.
healthy.
I'm cutting you off, but wasn't he athletic? A college
Brack?
athlete?
Oh yes, but he
But
was
he was
also
a
a stoner.
sloppy stoner.
He was a stoner athlete, smart, wickedly smart.
And he also laughs at people who exercise.
He laughs at people
I
that
just wanna put that
exercise.
out there.
I don't.
So do I.
From experience.
Brack he's a complete and total conundrum. There's no real way to describe him. That's why that's why we've been together for 20 years. Because
You're both
there's
trying to
no-
solve the puzzle. Yeah.
We're trying to solve the puzzle.
Yeah,
He can't
and you're
figure me
both
out.
unsolvable.
I can't figure him out. We balance each other pretty nicely. But
Nice.
he moved in after 2 weeks. I kicked him out. The next day he moved back in, and then we've never been separated since. So it's
He learned his.
And you've been
he-
married,
he
what, 20 years now?
Smartened up after
Wow.
you kicked him out. It only took him one day to.
well, there was a lot of drugs involved. Look, this is when I was really young. He was really young, and it was a week of intense drug activity. And I basically said, I can't live like this. And I don't want to do this kind of thing anymore. This is your life, and that's fantastic. Go with Holly Popeye legs and have dinner and do whatever you need to do. But we can just be friends. And he went and got his hair cut, and then came back and said, do you still feel the same way? So about 45 minutes had passed, and I said, yes, I still feel the
45
same.
minutes.
Yes, I still feel the same way.
But I got
And
my
I was
hair
bartending
cut.
that night, and he came in very drunk and climbed all over the bar and screamed, I want my key back. And it was very bad. And then he came the next day and apologized, and that was it. And then we were together.
And then you moved to New Orleans.
And then, no. Then my father met him, and my father did not like him.
So what was the snowmobile murder attempt
The
story?
snowmobile murder attempt. My father raced, still races vintage cars. He races Ford Cobras and Austin Healey's, and so he's for fun. I don't want
He's
to.
got to be in his 60s, 70s now. No, wow.
He's a very uncontrollable man. So
Wow.
he very much enjoyed speed and going off trail in the mountains of Colorado. And if you had your own snowmobile, you could do what you wanted. If you were renting one, then you had to stay on the trails. Well, he had 3 or 4 snowmobiles. He's a very well-to-do man, and he sort of decided he was going to test Brack's mettle by spending an afternoon with him in the snowmobiles, and it ended up costing him about $12,000 in a snowmobile because Brack kept up with him.
Both the snowmobiles are trashed.
And both of the snowmobiles crashed, and they played chicken, and there was a lot of alcohol involved.
Did they get
and-
hurt?
No, well, they were drunk.
Besides-
so
oh.
Pride.
sort of
Besides
bounced.
pride.
So they were-
Someone's pride.
And there was snow.
Hurt pride.
And yes, pretty much.
Did he
It was-
earn your father after that? Did your father have a different?
No.
No. Okay.
No.
But he didn't test him
I don't
again.
think, but he didn't test him again.
He didn't dare.
I think my father,
right.
my father's deal with Brack was that he sort of underestimated his, let's say, will to survive and succeed. I think looking at a surface and a guy who has very long
Judging a
hair
book
and
by the cover
and
kind of
he
thing.
just assumed that this was going to go nowhere fast. And I'm happy to say, and sucks to be you, my marriage has lasted longer than both of yours. So
Wow.
so suck
Oh.
on that.
Yeah. We'll drink to that.
Did you? So when did you meet Brock's family? Brack?
Brack.
On our
Brack,
way
sorry.
to on our way to Vermont, so he could go to culinary school. So we left Colorado to go to Vermont, so he could attend New England Culinary. And on our way, we kind of went the long way around. We visited all the family members in all the states. So we started in California and went all the way up into Iowa and Minnesota and down to South Carolina, and then back up the...
Did you have a good experience? Nobody tried to run you over?
Nobody tried to run me over. I will say that his... I would say his mother probably wasn't terribly fond of the fact that I was direct or assertive. I think after 20 years, she's since gotten used to it. And his younger brother Keith is now married to someone who's equally assertive, and so I don't know what that says about the voice she raised.
Wow.
But we're all very outspoken.
Well, this is giving me a lot of clues to how Cowbell has turned out the way it is.
Yeah.
Because in a town that's so creative and unique and funky, Cowbell really stands out, and not just in my opinion, in so many people's opinions, as being especially, like, you just do it well. Some people are just funky for being funky, and it doesn't work for them, But it all comes together in Cowbell. And it's like the decor and the food and the atmosphere and the vibe. It all seems to go together and it makes sense in a way,
Thank you.
And so I'm wondering. Well, first of all, Kim, how often do you eat at Cowbell? Are you there like every night?
We don't need to talk about that.
And what is in your sandwich?
Oh.
Actually,
It's
I was impressed. I
It's
mean,
very
I thought
good.
it was going to be some cheesy rendition of a classic Vietnamese sandwich, but it was delicious, and from scratch.
Yeah.
Now is it a classic
Rabbit
Vietnamese
ratatouille.
sandwich, or does it have a twist to it, or
There's
what's
a
the
twist
deal?
to it. I mean, he definitely, first of all, he makes the meats himself, like with, he does the terrine and he does the pate.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's great.
But he keeps the same elements of the cilantro and the pickled vegetables, which is delicious. It's a really
literally
nice
you inhale the
translation
thing.
of the
It's really very good.
Now, is this like Alaska Vietnamese, or is this like New
Actually,
Orleans
it's more like
Vietnamese, or is
Californian.
Vietnamese Vietnamese?
It's more like Californian
Vietnamese.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because I know the Alaska Vietnamese has become very popular, right?
With me.
With you.
With moose.
Well, now, by the way, I should back up. When I said that before, I'm not just flattering you, because I did my birthday dinner at your place.
You come here all the time.
I try to eat everywhere too, so I don't go to too many places more than once, right? It's hard. But I mean, Cowbell's at the very, very top of our list. So I'm going to ask Kim another question about it, though. What do you dislike on the menu at Cowbell? Is there anything where you just go, that's not for me?
It's not so much I dislike it, but the problem is once you've had the steak, it's really hard to want something else.
Yeah.
Except red meat there.
You're back on the red meat thing again. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
I mean, it's really hard to get a rare steak in this country, you know, and it's a little heartbreaking.
This is not a steak town either, really.
You go and they cook it in like some salamander, so you say rare, so it's like a lukewarm. You're like, I didn't say lukewarm, I just put rare. It's just, it hurts when you come to
This is my
eat
personal
steak.
problem with Cowbell too. I have a couple things that I love, and so when I go, it's hard for me to get
Try
off of
other
those things
things.
because
Like,
I know I'm
the
not going to be
fish
back for another
tacos
month
are
or two.
great,
Fish
but
tacos are the
they're
best
not
in this.
steak.
That's
Yeah,
the
they're really
thing,
great.
You get a lot.
Wait, let me ask you. Speaking of meat, do people eat moose?
Yes, absolutely.
And elk?
It's
And
a
Has
buffalo?
Cowbell ever made moose?
No.
Elk? Buffalo?
And if they ever do, I think my name will be attached to that as well.
No, and you know what?
Wow.
Here's the
Just
thing.
Should.
I
Sorry,
wouldn't
buddy.
be surprised if he
Sorry.
does, but I will say it's something that we ate frequently in Colorado.
It's
It
a
was-
lean
It was on the
meat.
menu in every restaurant in Crested Butte. There was bison or elk, or because it's very lean meat.
Right.
So
Which
that's
doesn't
not,
necessarily mean tasty. You have to mix it up.
No,
I
you have to
mean,
mix it up. And
I have a cooking question for y'all. I mean, you may
no.
not be able to answer this, but
How do you cook
the
moose?
extent
I can
of
tell you
I
how
know
to
how
cook
to
moose.
cook Rice Krispies.
She's not going to know
so
how to cook moose.
okay.
I
Well,
know. I'll
maybe
know.
you might get in trouble for this, so you don't have to answer. But no, we'd like to know
It's a
if
recurring
there's
question we ask. Yeah.
Yeah, if there's anything that you do in the restaurant that is like a secret or saves time.
Like a
Not
shortcut?
a secret. A shortcut. To
as far as the
something-
food goes, or
Yeah, like, some instead of cooking beans for 4 hours, we found out from another guest that they use canned beans, or if you're
We spray Pam on stuff.
I mean,
I'm
y'all
probably
make your
not
own
the
best
ketchup,
person
so
to ask,
you probably
but
don't take any
can,
shortcuts.
I can say that I don't. He doesn't take shortcuts.
So essentially,
at
you're
all.
no help to us at all.
I am no help to you at all. At all.
We're looking for
I'm not
shortcuts.
trying to find I'm not
We'll
trying
never
to
be a brack, but
Yeah.
maybe we can get a shortcut that'll help us.
some cooking
yeah.
shortcut. We'll
Yeah,
have
make
to
your
have
own
Brack on the
rabbit
show.
pate.
Yeah, we got to get
okay?
brack. over
Yeah,
too.
pate. You can't.
Which, by the way, I want to get his. I want to get his side of a couple of these stories too. So we got to have him soon.
I want to ask you, going back to family. I heard that his sister is a famous volleyball player.
She is.
Is that true?
She is a famous
Tell
volleyball
everyone
player.
that
What in the world?
She
When you hear his
it's
last
totally
name,
true.
Wait,
Here's
becomes
what's
funny.
crazy.
What's crazy is the guy seriously makes fun of people who exercise. He's like, "Oh, I saw you running on St. Charles the
Isn't
other
she
day."
like his sister, like an Olympian?
Yes, a
she's
gold
Misty
medal,
May.
Okay, tell her
Yes,
Misty
she's
May.
Misty
medal
May.
Olympian. Yeah, I know.
Here's what's funny is I had hired somebody recently who was new and didn't know the routine, didn't know that people come in and they ask that question. So there were.
Well, but May's a
there
common
were-
enough name. You may not ask. Yeah.
No, but there was she never put two and two together, and it's just not something that we go, oh, and by the way, it's just not what we do. So she's waiting on somebody, and and this person
learn the
says,
Bible.
I understand that Brack is related to Misty May, and she looks at him and she goes, "Oh no, where did you hear that? That is not true at all. I don't know what's it." And then she tells me about it, and she's laughing, going, "Can you believe that?" And I'm like, "Yeah. Well, thing is, he actually is related. That actually is his sister." And she was like, "Oh my God, I feel like such an ass."
Wow.
It's like, well, how would you know? How would you even know?
You need to name something after her too in the restaurant. Maybe something
no,
real,
Something
lean.
non-athletic.
Hey, wait, she needs to have 3 disasters hit before she gets her own sandwich. I don't care who she is.
She has to have a blighted
I don't
house
care.
fall on her house and have the
okay.
city take some of her
She needs
beds.
to
That's
buy
a
a
good
house in
point.
Central City.
Yeah, she needs to live in
It
Central
has to be
City.
earned.
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah, I hear you.
I like that. I like
It's
that
a privilege,
philosophy.
not a right.
All right, now, Krista.
Yeah.
Obviously, Brack's the visionary behind most of the food,
Mm-hmm.
but Cowbell, it's the whole experience. We talk about this a lot in the show about how it's more than just the food. You just can't take the
Right.
recipes and move it. That's why certain restaurants, famous restaurants here, have tried to open in Destin and Houston. It hasn't worked as well
Doesn't
for
quite
them
work.
because it's a whole atmosphere, right?
Right.
And you contribute hugely to this endeavor too, because to me, like one of your things is obviously you do staff and all that, but you do
Mm-hmm.
the aesthetic of it, and I just like. I mean, I walk in your place and it's like she knows how to use rust like better than
I
anybody
love
else I know.
rust.
Yeah, well,
Rust is wonderful.
I mean, I remember reading when I first got here. I was trying to figure out what it is that's so beautiful about New Orleans. Somebody said, "Well, you have to." I know it's a famous quote, but they said you have to understand the beauty of entropy to like
Yeah,
New Orleans.
exactly.
And that's what I see in your place. It's like it's not dirty. It's not uncomfortable. It's just like
sophisticated.
yeah, it's just like lived in and sophisticated, and that's a great way of putting it. And then I noticed there's a letter on the wall. I think you told me the story about that. You climbed up like in like ninja costume and like got the letter that flooded Pizza Hut that they never rebuilt.
They never rebuilt. They just
Claiborne.
knocked that thing
Oh, by the way,
down, too.
what's the statute of limitations on this crime? I think you can
that's-
confess this on the air, right? You're not
I'm going to go ahead and confess
Well, you'll know, the lawyer
that
will.
I
I'm
You're
not
you're
licensed
the
to
lawyer.
practice in Louisiana.
Well, this was like
You're licensed to give advice.
I'm licensed
No,
to
I
roll
did-
my eyes.
I
when
did.
I go to jail.
I did steal the A. I did
that is so
absolutely
awesome.
steal the
'Cause that's
A.
not a low roof. I mean, you had to get a ladder or
No.
something, right? I mean,
Yes, I did. We
In full
climbed.
view of
we
everyone?
did a little climb. Well, nobody was really, nobody was really paying attention to anything. And one of the things that's interesting is that a lot of the panels, the artwork that's there, the use your melon and the little
Yeah,
boy
yeah.
with the ice cream cones. That was also part of the property on Pizza Hut, and we were eyeballing it and trying to figure out how we could get in touch with somebody to see if we could take that down and save it so that it could go to a school or it could go somewhere. And one day we happened upon some people from, I don't want to say what state, but they were taking it and they were going to take it for scrap. And we were like, well, fuck that. So we got into our little ninja outfits in the middle of the night and went and took a whole panel to save it because we knew the story behind why it was painted. And
Right.
the guy had gone around the neighborhood and gotten paint from everybody. And so it was particularly
And
offensive
doesn't it have
after
a flood line
Katrina
on
to
it
have
too,
that.
I
Yeah, it
think?
does.
Yeah,
It
that's
still
right.
has its
Yeah.
flood line. And that's why I haven't sealed it with my favorite invention, cement sealer, because it would
Nice.
remove the
flood line.
The flood line, and the flood line is
Needs to
important.
be there.
It
Yeah.
needs to be there. There's a point to it. So,
Yes.
all of the idea behind the way the restaurant looks is that we wanted it to be a place that was comfortable for people to come in and just relax. That was the idea. I didn't want people to feel like they had to dress up or to wear a jacket or that it was like just walking into their own place and sitting down and enjoying the company that they're with. That's why there's no Wi-Fi. I want you to talk to the people that you're with. I don't want you playing with your phone or doing work or whatever. There's no, I don't I appreciate that.
You're gonna have to
that
jam
it's
4G
necessary.
next. You need to get some
Yeah,
kind of
I
device
just-
on your roof to jam the 4G.
I just
but then
think
you all
that
get cancer.
it's so destructive to it contributes to people's inability to actually have a face-to-face conversation anymore.
Yeah.
It's everything is texting, and English is not really a language anymore, and it's all phonetic, and so it's like, well, if I have to, I will force you to sit down and speak to the person that you're having dinner with, and that's kind of the idea behind it. And then all of the artwork and all of the pieces, they each have their own story. And for me, the fact that they're rusted and they're broken and they're not perfect, to me makes them more beautiful, because each has its own story. People have their story, but I think inanimate objects have their own story as well. And I like that when things are peeling and when they're old, they say something about it.
It means they have a history.
They have a history,
Yeah.
and there's more than just your eyes have seen this thing.
Right.
Years and years and years and years of people have looked at this, and it's changed over the years, but you're part of a group that's looked at this, and it remained just the thing that changes. But I don't know. That's I like that there are quotes on the walls. I like that there are kind of
I
secrets
plagiarized
everywhere.
your Christopher Walken one.
That's all right.
Yeah.
That's all right. I like that.
I made one of those for myself.
We kind of make fun
Fact.
of
Fact. I made a Christopher
fact.
Walken.
I love the word fact. Fact. And that
Always in
actually,
caps,
I plagiarized that. I'm going to say right now that
Where'd you get that
from? That comes from a guy, a lithographer that was in North Carolina, and he wrote. He had like weird sayings. We have one that's Cass Walker, grocer man. He womped the hell out of shoplifters. Fact. And I just thought it was just hysterical. So I put fact after everything. Now I have to hashtag, apparently. But I usually use the word fact. And all of the quotes have specific meanings. There's specific reasons why they're there. I don't ever put anything in there without there being a reason behind it. There's nothing in there that doesn't have a point. And I like to watch as people try to figure out what that point is, or they figure out what it is for themselves. It may not even be what my point is, but I like for people to try and, well, where is that quote from? Or what does that quote mean? Or why is that hanging there? Do you ever have anyone offended by that? They ask all kinds of questions. But for me, the important thing is that they're thinking about it. They're asking questions, and they're not just kind of not engaging. And I prefer for people to engage. I prefer for people to look at things as useful, even if they're discarded. There's you can use things that other people consider junk, and you can turn them into really beautiful things.
Well, you
just have to kind of change your perspective. Thank you.
It's very, it feels beautiful and comfortable, and
Thank you.
I love sitting with people at the tables and meeting people. I always get into a good conversation with someone sitting in there, and it's very well done.
Thank you.
Everything
That's
is,
the idea. I don't like, one thing I don't like about restaurants is that there's this idea that you have to dress up or you have to wear a jacket, and somehow that is relative to how good the meal is going to be, and I just think that's
hate
bullshit.
oversized menus. So pretentious.
Oversized menus with really long wine lists,
like
and
a kid with it. You're like, you feel stupid.
I just don't think it enhances the experience. I think that everyday people should be allowed to have a place that they're comfortable in, where they get a quality meal and they can enjoy themselves.
But it's
without,
accessible to them.
Yeah, it's
right.
accessible, and
Yeah.
they don't have to put on a suit and tie. They don't have to get an equity loan. They don't have to,
Right.
we're not the place where people go when they want to ask someone to marry them.
Right.
We're the place that they go after they're married,
Uh-huh.
which is cool.
Right,
because, I figure I'm probably going to get them more often.
Have you gotten anybody to propose
I
at your
have
restaurant
not.
yet?
Oh,
No?
heck no.
Really?
No.
See, yeah.
Not that we know of. We get a lot of birthdays. I think it's the the bell that we ring, and
Yeah.
the kind of
Oh yeah, I wore the cow hat.
You
put
wear
on
the
me.
cow
Yeah,
hat,
that time.
and you know that really wasn't. I hate it
Don't
when
feel
people do
special.
that to me.
What's that? Don't feel special.
I hate it when people do that to me in a restaurant, but the kids started
No,
that,
I liked it.
and so
No,
I
liked
let
it.
the
I liked
kids
it.
do
I'm
with
in the
it.
costuming. Yeah,
Yeah.
I look at for any excuse to dress up.
Well,
so.
and that came from a guy in the neighborhood.
I mean, if you can make a change, I'd switch to a tiara maybe. If you can get like
I-
a cow tiara.
If I can get a cow tiara,
I'd prefer to wear that, but I'll keep wearing that.
yeah, we could do that. I think that
For
could
me,
be arranged.
could you arrange a cow
Oh,
tiara?
where
Can I
could I
throw
find a
something
tiara
in?
in town?
Yes.
Yeah.
One thing I really appreciate about Cowbell is that it's in a location where other people would have given up.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's in a neighborhood,
Especially when you got there too.
that
Yeah.
people have certain perceptions about.
Yep.
Thank
and
you.
Brack and Krista
Yep.
didn't give a shit.
Yep.
And not only did they not give a shit, but they are and continue to be respectful to the
Right.
neighborhood around them.
Yep.
And serve people who just want to have good food.
Yes.
And that's one thing. I mean, the food, we know my opinion about the steak. But aside from that, I think it's small business owners in this town that can
Yep.
make and break a neighborhood.
Yep.
And I love what they do, especially someone who does work in distressed neighborhoods.
Yep.
And
Well,
You know,
it's
you've been
like
a part-
it's
you've
an
been a part of the
anchor that
revival
has
of Oak,
created.
too, really.
It's
I
Think
think
of the great bakery
the
that's there
businesses
now,
have moved
and,
towards that end because
A Bay, the clothing store
It's,
that's right
uh,
there too. A
I
couple
think
blocks
it-
away. I mean, that's all. They were the
all of that
pioneers.
is new. Yeah.
Yeah,
pretty
you were
much
the
all of
first
that is
one in
new.
that end. I mean, the other end of Oak was really improving and doing
Yeah.
well and coming to life. But your end of Oak was pretty desolate down at that end. And you predate a Bay and a bakery and all
Well,
the
and
rest
now
of the good
that
stuff
the
there.
bakery is there, and
Which is
I
great.
think
I love that bread place.
I love that bread place. I think that's kind of indicative of a lot of things in the city. The way people sort of undervalue areas because of some kind of preconceived notion
Yeah.
of what something is. And I've lived in Central City for 13 years, and I can pretty much guarantee that when people think of Central City, they're not thinking of a 47-year-old white woman that owns a house, and they're thinking of people that live in the projects or Section 8 or whatever, and that's just not the reality.
Right.
So, I still have people that say, is it safe to park on Eagle Street? Absolutely. I've been there 2 years.
Right.
Not a single thing has happened to our building, to
Right.
any car, any employee, anything. So it's, you have to kind of take a leap of faith, and if you have good intentions, generally you put that out, it comes back, and every once in a while you're going to get bit in the ass, but
Right. That's the price
that's
of living in
anywhere.
paradise, though,
That's
too.
I have tons of people.
You get bit in the ass like 1,000 little ways if you live in
Well, let's tell everybody
I won't want to say another place.
where.
but, yeah.
Let's give everyone y'all's address and
Yes.
because we're coming to the end of our night.
Yeah.
They're
Oh, we're out of
wrapping up the
time.
grill.
We're at the end?
Yeah, unfortunately, we're gonna have you back.
You're gonna have to have Brack back so
Interrogate
he
your
can,
husband.
Yes.
he can,
Your-
yeah,
So you can tell us the truth about your dad. No, just kidding.
exactly, right? Yeah,
But we
You were-
wanted.
you were holding back. You were holding back, I could tell.
He'll so sugarcoat it. He really will.
Well, thank you so much,
You're
Krista,
welcome.
for coming in tonight. We really appreciate it, and bringing Kim with you. We
Thank
enjoyed
you.
getting to know
I
you.
had fun being here.
This was cool.
And your address on Oak Street is
8801 Oak Street. So pretty much we're right before the railroad tracks. If you're
Yep.
standing in line with that track, the train blowing the horn.
It gives you a little extra time to make the detour over to you.
Exactly.
Go, "Yup, I am hungry."
encourage you to go ahead and turn
Yeah.
on any of those side streets and park.
Yes.
That's absolutely fine.
Well, our special guest tonight on Midnight Menu Plus One was Krista May, Pendergraft-May, and her plus one was Kim Gu. You can find out more about their restaurant, her restaurant Cowbell, by going on in and enjoying yourselves if you haven't already.
And there'll be material on our website too, right? And it's
Yes.
neworleans.com. We'll have links to Cowbell there when we put this up.
There's a website.
Yes.
And we post, I should say that if you want to know what the specials are every day, go to Twitter and put in hashtag, the kids are going to laugh at me, hashtag Cowbell Special, and that'll pull up whatever
don't
is
know what
going
hashtag
on.
is.
I don't either. But the kids that work for me, and I call them kids, they're actual adults, but I consider them kids. They say you've got a hashtag. So
Well, I look on Facebook, and I
hashtagging.
like. If you've noticed, I like every single
You
picture
do,
put up,
yeah.
except the pate. I want to like pate, but I just
Why?
don't. I don't. I'm embarrassed to
Dude.
say I don't. I don't want to be
Dude.
able to
Try it in my sandwich.
dude, you
Is
got
it
to
on
try
the
it in the
sandwich?
sandwich.
It
You
is.
got to try it in the sandwich.
This
I'm
is-
telling
See,
you.
we didn't get to what
This is the entree.
We've landed the plane.
Here
Now
we
we're
go.
taking off again.
Now
Though
you're
we're out of
taking
time.
off.
We got to stop this. Let me say this: our show is recorded live at Ted's Frost Top on Claiborne Avenue in Calhoun, in Uptown New Orleans. Ted's is open 7 days a week, serving first-class burgers, beer, and their awesome homemade root beer in a frosty mug. Midnight Menu Plus One is produced by Mitch Cry with assistance from Margo and me. Chris Keogh has been our guest technical director tonight. You can get in touch with us here at Midnight Menu Plus One by going to our website, itsneworleans.com. From there, you can follow us on Twitter, find us on Facebook, sign up on our mailing list, all kinds of ways. While you're at it, itsneworleans.com, you can listen to other episodes of Midnight Menu Plus One. You'll want to do that for sure, all of them, as well as other shows, Happy Hour, Mindset, True to the Game, and Out to Lunch. If you're listening to the show on iTunes, thanks for subscribing. Maybe you could take a minute to rate and review us very highly. That helps with other people finding us. Midnight Menu Plus One is a production of INO Broadcasting for itsneworleans.com. Till we meet again here at Ted's Frost Top, I'm Ray Canada.
And I'm Margot Moss.
Good night.
You know Labor Day signals the unofficial end of summer, but not the end of your outdoor projects. Lowe's helps you do it right and helps you save with Labor Day deals throughout the store. Shop now and get 2 bags of Stay Green Potty Mix for $12. And keep your lawn looking neat and trim with a Craftsman 2-cycle 17-inch gas string trimmer, now $20 off at just $119. Whatever's still on your to-do list this Labor Day, do it right for less. Start with Lowe's. Offers valid through 8/28. Soil offer excludes Alaska and Hawaii, U.S. only.